Hello there. Welcome to episode 79 of the Vintage Collection Quick Shot series. And you know, this guy is all over Star Wars right now. This is the Darth Sidious, or Emperor Palpatine, or the Emperor, or whatever you want to call him. But in the Phantom Menace, this is the first time we were introduced to him as Darth Sidious. So again, this is episode 79 of the Quick Shot series because it's VC79 in the Vintage Collection. So I am going through the entire Vintage Collection all the way through, so do check out the rest of the series and the playlist if you are new around here. And this guy is all over Star Wars right now. You know, there's a lot of talk about Darth Sidious slash Palpatine slash the Emperor, whatever you want to call him. I can't guarantee I'm going to come out with I can't guarantee I will not come out with spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker, so jump off now if you don't want to be put in that situation of hearing anything. But it's no surprise to anybody that he does appear in the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker, so in one way or another he is back. I'm actually going to go and see The Rise of Skywalker tonight again to make a little bit more sense of it all. But as far as I was concerned, you know, I really did enjoy the film and it was great seeing him back and stuff. But as far as I was concerned, his arc, the main line of his story that I wanted to see was between 1 and 6. And, you know, the end of it was, you know, when Vader rebelled and threw him down that shaft, and that should have been the end of it, really. But, you know, you kind of knew he would come back in one way, shape, or form, even from the expanded universe by cloning him. And, you know, he was always on the cards in the back of your mind is what I'm trying to say there. So, you know, you can't change it. They needed a villain as well. Anyway, I'll shut up about that. Let's focus on this figure and this card back, which is gorgeous. And then we're going to talk about other figures for him as well, like this one here. That is the best figure they've ever made for the Emperor. And also I would like to introduce you to his figure from 20 years ago, because that's how old the Phantom Menace is now. I'll show you that in a minute as well. So firstly, let's talk about this card back. Lovely unpunched card, Phantom Menace, and that's how he appears. He's mostly seen as a hologram in that movie, just like he did in the Empire Strikes Back. I think that's what George Lucas kind of wanted to kind of do, to kind of like show you him as he first appeared, you know, kind of like subtle nods to how his first appearance in the saga, which was a hologram. There he is in the bubble. Soft goods, and he also comes with a lightsaber. He does not use a lightsaber in this film, but then again, this line of figures was released after the Revenge of the Sith. So although he doesn't use a lightsaber in Phantom Menace, one can only assume he had one underneath that cloak. Although many have argued that Sidious, Emperor, you know, that line, that throwaway line about lightsabers in the Return of the Jedi, you know, yes, a Jedi's weapon, much like your father's, you know, almost like he's dismissive of lightsabers. Vader has one because all we knew about Vader was that he was a turned Jedi. We didn't know anything really much about the rule of two or anything about the Emperor then, but we do know now, following this movie in particular, and this prequel trilogy talks more about the rule of two and Sidious, the history, and then obviously he uses a lightsaber too. Personally, it always appeared that he was above that. You know, he didn't need to use anything other than the power of the Force, which was intense. You know, he could fire lightning out of his fingertips. That was a shock when you first saw that in the Return of the Jedi. Speaking of the Return of the Jedi, I really hope, let's talk about the figure now. I really hope that they make a really good figure, definitive, in 3/4 inch, fully articulated for the Emperor, using the classic vintage 1980s Emperor card. Because this one here, look at that. The hood, the face. This figure is so good for episode 1, and it could work for episode 2, where he does briefly appear in his human form, not as a hologram. Welcome home, Lord Tyrannus. You have done well. I have good news for you, my lord. War has begun. Excellent. Everything is going as planned. This figure here, despite the fact that he's a lot less deformed as he was in episode 6, could pass as an episode 6 one. I'm going to mount the camera and show you. If you get rid of the lightsaber, it's just the posture of him. I'm sending my apprentice Darth Maul to join you. He's just an ominous figure, you know, look at him. When he comes down that ramp, when he first sees Vader in the Titanium hangar bay, that, you know, this figure kind of shouts that in a way. So he's prequels and original trilogy in his form. So what I'm trying to say there is it wouldn't be too difficult for them to make a really good super articulated figure on an Empire Strikes Back card. And I'll talk to you about this one in a minute because that's brilliant. That's sort of like in the works there. But also, in terms of the facial deformity of him in The Revenge of the Sith, I'm jumping around episodes here. Look at him here. When I first saw the film, I thought, well, there is a younger version of Sidious. Although he was an older gentleman in The Phantom Menace, and 10 years after that, he looked a lot older in Attack of the Clones, which is a decade after. I thought that they didn't need to have him go through such facial deformity. Either he reveals his face or it's caused by the lightning that Mace Windu deflects back at him. He has a look of the Phantom of the Opera from 1922. I think it's 1925, actually, the Phantom of the Opera. The facial makeup. I mean, in the Return of the Jedi, he's got that white skin and he looks old and, I wouldn't say deformed, but you know what I mean? He just looks very old. His skin is hanging a little bit, but that's because of his old age, I thought. Way before we knew about Plagueis and all of that in episode 3. I'm talking in the late 90s here. I read a book about Darth Sidious that said that his power of the dark side keeps him old beyond his years. And as I say, that was way before anyone knew anything about Darth Plagueis. That was in a book, which I'll find that book for you at some point. And that's why I thought it'd explain why he looked white in the Return of the Jedi, because he was just so old. He was beyond natural years, should we say. But then when you see The Revenge of the Sith, you see what he looks like, the Phantom of the Opera, the original one. But anyway, that's another issue. Let me talk to you now about the Emperor in terms of future of this figure. That's a great figure, by the way. The one I've just taken off. This one is even better. Oh, excuse me. No, he's just turned away from us. This is an awesome figure. It's not 5p away. It's probably about 7. You can articulate the wrists. This is the most recent figure for the Emperor. But look how good it is when he turns around. That face. And look at the posture. Look at that. That is so good. Look at that in that scale. 3 3/4 inch. They have nailed him. Now imagine him on a vintage card for the Empire Strike. Oh my God. The Return of the Jedi on a figure like this. Now I've got a lot of friends actually who like this figure. I have one friend in particular, Babbling Booby. He does not like the plastic hood there. I don't mind. I think that it blends nicely. It's dark, soft goods there. They've used hard goods because they've used their heads. Hasbro, because you can't manipulate soft goods to look like that. And that hood does everything for him. If you took the hood off, you'll see a real Ian McKellen. I wouldn't mind a second one of these to have as a Darth Sidious training with Plagueis. If you take that hood off, I might do that actually since I mentioned it for you. But I think hard goods work. I would like to see another one like that, hard goods and soft goods combined or mixed with that face, the classic Emperor episode 6 face. In a minute I'm going to show you that. This is the episode 1 original one, the 10-year-old one. But for now, since I've mentioned it, let's have a look at, this is the man who would have been training with Darth Plagueis the Wise. Look at him. That's a great sculpt as well. I'd love a second one of this guy. I'm not opening that one. He's gone up so much in value to have him in a training scene with Plagueis or something. Or training Darth Maul looking like that. Brilliant. All right, and then finally, I'll just show you this figure. As I say, he appears in the Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace as just the hooded dude who hasn't been attacked by Force Lightning or anything like that. So it just is a hooded version of, there you go. Now, it's an all right figure, but look at that from that angle. It's brilliant. Look at that. It's the hood does it, doesn't it? And the nose. So this is 20 years old, this figure. This comes from the 1999 Phantom Menace line. But when he turns around, you'll just see how good he looks. You can't go wrong with it. But you could almost double up and buy it. I wanted to, yeah. I was after another one of this one to have alongside Dooku to mock up the Attack of the Clones scene. Excellent. Everything is going as planned. But, you know, I've got lots of Emperors now, but that's a great one. The sculpt of that is excellent. And again, the sculpt, that's a brilliant figure. There's lots of good Emperor figures, but this is a brilliant one. This one here, VC79, is an awesome, almost definitive one certainly for the Phantom Menace. But as I said, just without the lightsaber, just as a silhouetted figure, ominous figure that he is, with that robe, it could almost pass as an episode 6 one if he was stood by Vader. Bring it on, Hasbro. Do it. Bring him out articulated on a vintage card. I'm going to shut up there. I could talk about it all day. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new around here, hit the thumb up button, subscribe, follow the rest of the series. I'll leave a link for the rest of the Vintage Collection Quick Shot series as we go through the entire VC. Thank you for watching. Only one Kenobi. I have been only one. Out.